Hey everyone, I am going to demonstrate a titration lab today, and so I want to first show you the equipment that we're using, and then we'll sort of dive in. So, first we have our burette. So a burette is the tool that we use for titration, and it is very precise. It's calibrated to dispense precise amounts of liquid. So this actually has markings every 1/10 of a milliliter. I know you probably really can't see that here, but it has markings every 1/10 of a milliliter. So what that allows us to do is record a volume to 2 decimal places. Over here we have our unknown hydrochloric acid that we're going to titrate. We have water to dilute it. We have 3 indicators: phenolphthalein, bromothymol blue, and universal indicator. Okay, so I've filled the burette with 0.1 molar sodium hydroxide as described in the lab. And I'm going to measure out 10 milliliters of our unknown acid. So I'm going to use the dropper to make sure I'm as precise as I can possibly be. I'm not going to make you watch this every time, I promise. And then I'm going to add it, once I have 10 milliliters, I'm going to add it to my titration flask. Now, it's really important before I start that I actually run some of this sodium hydroxide through the end of the burette, because it's calibrated to dispense, so some sodium hydroxide is used to do that. So now the burette is calibrated and ready to go. All right, so I have my 10 milliliters of acid, so I'm going to add this to my titration flask. And that's a very small volume compared to the flask, and we want to be able to see really clearly. So I'm also going to add about 15 milliliters of water. Fun fact, it really does not matter how much you add. So I'm actually going to pour because it'll be faster. It really doesn't matter how much you add. And in the lab analysis, I'm going to challenge you to think about why it doesn't matter. So I have a little less than 15, but again, it does not matter. Okay. So I'm adding my water to the flask. And now I have to add the most important ingredient that people always seem to forget, which is the indicator. So my first indicator is phenolphthalein. So I'm going to add maybe 2 drops of my indicator here. Wait, no I'm not, because it's all dried out. Stand by. I'm going to get some new phenolphthalein. All right, so now I'm going to add a couple drops of my indicator, phenolphthalein. So I've got my little dropper bottle here, and I'm just trying to make it work. Come on, buddy. Well, that dropper's clogged, so I'm going to use this dropper. Okay. Okay, so I've added 2 drops of my phenolphthalein. And I'm going to swirl to mix. Okay. And now, before I titrate, I need to record the initial volume of the base. And so looks to me that it is, I would say it's 7.10. All right, so I'm going to slowly add the base. And one thing that you'll notice is as I add it, that I've put it on top of a white piece of paper. And the reason I've done that is so you can easily see the color change. Now, phenolphthalein is clear in the presence of acid and pink in the presence of base. So I'm looking for this to be a pale pink throughout. I don't want it to be too dark pink because that means I've gone past the endpoint. However, it really doesn't take very much additional base to go past the endpoint. We're talking like a couple of drops. So I won't worry too much. I'm going to make it go a little bit faster. And one thing you'll notice as we start to get close to the endpoint, which we're not there yet, is that you'll see that the color starts to change. Like you'll see that initially when drops of base hit the liquid, that they turn pink. And then when I swirl it, the pink disperses. So like you can see a little bit of that maybe right there if you're looking carefully. And now it maybe is done. So it's a little bit pink. I would say maybe 1 more drop. Because you have to have a pink color that persists. Okay, so I would say that that is pink. You know, it's a little bit hard to see that color change, so let me see if I can do it like this. So you can see that it has a little bit of a pink color to it, so that tells me that this titration is done. Okay, so now I need to record the final volume.